Okay, hi, we're looking at quadratic equations, which are a different sort of equations to the ones you might have been doing previously. So you would have seen equations like this one before, and these are called linear equations. Linear equations. Get my pen. Okay, and the way we tell it is the highest power of x is 1, and there's one answer. Okay, so quadratic equations are different. So what we do is the highest power is 2. And that's all we need to be able to call it a quadratic equation. Now, in terms of the answers, okay, so with linear equations there's one answer, but with quadratic equations there could be no answers, one answer, or two answers. So that's the possible answers, and we'll start off with that there's going to be two answers, but eventually you'll find out they can have no answers or one answer, but there's up to two answers. Okay, copy that and come across when you're ready. Okay, so to solve quadratic equations, we just have to look at some basic mathematical operations. So we're multiplying two things. So if you have 3 times 0, the answer is 0. Minus 4 times 0, the answer is 0. 0 times 0 equals 0. So what we're saying is if you have two things, okay, two numbers, two terms, two expressions, and we're multiplying, as long as one of them 0, as long as one of them 0 or both of them are 0, you get an answer of 0. Now you don't need to copy that down, just look at what happens on the next page. So here's the key. As long as one factor equals 0, the product must always be 0. As long as one factor equals 0, the product is 0. So copy that down, and then when you're ready, come across. Okay, so here we have a product equaling 0. Okay, so what we've just said is either that equals 0 or that equals 0, or they both equal 0. And so to solve the equation, you just have to think, looking at that, and what value of x makes the whole thing 0, and so the answer would be minus 2. And what value of x makes the whole thing 0, and the answer is 1. So there's two answers. Okay, so basically you're solving an equation. So to go back to that, x plus 2 equals 0, so x equals minus 2. Or x minus 1 equals 0, so x equals 1. Now you don't have to write the equations out, sometimes you can just see the answers. Okay, copy that and come across. Okay, here's another one. Now I haven't put the time sign in, but there's a time sign. If the answer equals 0, either the first bracket equals 0 or the second bracket equals 0. So if you're not sure, you just say 3x plus 1 equals 0, 3x equals minus 1, so x equals minus 1/3, so that's your first answer, or 2x minus 5 equals 0, 2x equals positive 5, so x equals 5 on 2. Now you can do it that way, or the quick way is you look at the number and it's plus 1 and you turn it into the opposite, which is minus 1, and then you just divide by the coefficient. So you look at the number, which is minus 5, turn it to the opposite, which is plus 5, and then just divide through by the coefficient. Okay, so the answer is minus 1/3. So you could write your answer as just minus 1/3, comma, 5/2. And fraction answers are best. Fraction answers are best, not decimals. Okay, copy that and come across. Okay, so now we have another one, and we do have two terms, but the first one doesn't have any numbers with it, so if that helps you to put brackets around. Okay, so the first answer is that equals 0, so 3x equals 0, so that means x equals 0. And maybe with this one we'll just take the shortcut, minus 7 becomes plus 7, and divide by 2, and that's your answer. So with that term at the front, it doesn't matter how many x's. If it's just an x and it doesn't have any numbers, x has to always be 0. So it wouldn't matter if it was 1000x out the front, x has to be 0. Okay, so that's the first one of the quadratic equations, and there'll be more to follow. Thanks, bye.